Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Head. I hope you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. As you know, the Mets had a terrible season, and a terrible finish. They were the best team in baseball for 2 months, and it was a slow disintegration into hell. And we're in hell. And we can point fingers, and we're going to point fingers here because this is what we do here. This is the dark hut of discontent, the winter of discontent, bitter, cold off season, and it is bitter and it is cold and it sucks big time. And obviously the Met pitching staff was a disaster. That's why they fired. They said they dismissed him. They moved on. Jeremy Hefton was fired, and he should have been thrown out of here about 2-3 years ago. Or at least 2 years ago after the 2023 season. One of the biggest disappointment so far, in my opinion, early on, of the David Stearns era is holding on to Hefner when we saw how poorly the Mets had pitched the 4 seasons that he was the pitching coach. And he was pitching coach for 6 seasons. You forget that he was the pitching coach in 2020. We know the Mets have led the league in walks. They've led the league in falling behind the count. They've led the league, and given up a lot of base runners, free ones. And we've seen guys that have pitched, pretty well in other places. They didn't walk a lot of bats, but for some reason they got here and they could not throw strikes. Luis Severino last year had a very high walk rate when his career walk rate coming into last season was very low. I use him as an example because we've seen that now with this particular group, with that former pitching coach, that was a problem. Now, one of the things the Mets also have a problem with was length in terms of the rotation. The guys were going into the third inning, fourth inning, couldn't get out of it. Had to get taken out. The Mets had to go to the bullpen. And they had to expect guys from like Bond and all the cavalcade. Mets used a lot of pitchers. They used 47 pitchers this year. Horrible amount of players to use. That tells you that there's something wrong within the organization and within the pitching coach, that he can't get the most out of these guys. That's why he's not here. That's why he's gone. But when you go to so many pitchers, you're not going to have the stability that you need. And the Mets needs a stabilizer in this rotation. And we're going to talk a lot about these free agents. Framber Valdez is a big player. I was not thinking about him prior to this situation up until the collapse. But the Mets need a frontline starter, if not 2 frontline starters, to anchor this staff going forward because they need it. One of the guys that could be on the market is Tarik Skubal, the Tigers' left-handed ace. Now, as you know, the Tigers played a very emotional 5-game series against the Mariners, and they lost. And he was a guy that with them has pitched great. And the Mets need a guy that is going to, head the rotation. Now, people are talking about him getting traded because it's expected he's going to be looking for a lot of money. He's still very young. And the Mets have prospects to move. I don't have a trade proposal here yet. I will be coming up with all kinds of crazy shit here. But here we have from Sporting News, Mets trade prediction lands electric $10 million Cy Young Award winner, 2-time All-Star, bolstering the rotation. I can't emphasize it enough that the New York Mets absolutely need an ace at the top of this rotation. The Detroit Tigers season came to a heartbreaking end in a 15-inning loss to the Mariners. Despite a strong year, the Tigers collapsed down the stretch, allowing the Cleveland Guardians to catch up and force a difficult playoff path. In the American League Divisional Series, manager A.J. Hinch came under fire for a controversial decision to pull starter Tarik Skubal before he reached 100 pitches. Quote, A.J. was always a fraud and needed trash cans to win a championship. Boy, oh boy. The hell wrote this? Terrible. This is how it is in baseball. Guys do not throw 100 pitches. Terrible. After the game, Hinch addressed the criticism and explained that the decision was made mutually between him and Skubal. Each decision Hinch said about removing Skubal. After the 5th, I checked in on him on how he was doing physically and emotionally. We both knew that he had one left. He emptied the tank and obviously was emotional coming off the mound. And I think that signals exactly where we were in the game. He gave us everything he could. Skubal went to the final season of his contract in 25. But keeping him in Detroit long term could prove difficult. Oh boy. The first option is no doubt the most desirable. It may also be the most unrealistic. Skubal is represented by Scott Boras. Well, you know where that's going. And you can already picture Boras at the winter meetings proclaiming in front of an eager media scrum that Skubal is the engine that makes the Motor City Kitties purr out. We're going to have a lockout next year. Okay? We're going to have a labor strife next year. Skubal is going to get traded. You're going to see players getting moves, so these teams aren't have to worry about these kind of moves. With these contracts. He's going to get traded. If the Tigers are unable to strike an extension, one potential trade destination could be the New York Mets. Adding Skubal will give them a certified ace. Even if their depth got depleted, they could rely on Skubal to produce. The Mets are in a much better position than the Tigers offensively. Skubal could win with Detroit. Imagine what he'd do with a strong lineup to back him up. Fanside's Winston Wilcox wrote, a trade to the Mets would give New York a much-needed boost and a rotation that has struggled to stay healthy. Skubal is widely considered one of the best pitchers in the game today. If the Mets pull off a deal for Skubal, it will be another major step in building a true contender. For New York, the mission is clear. Spend big, trade big, and win big. And Skubal could be at the center of that plan. Now, this is a big task that the Mets have ahead of them. Okay, the Met front office has a big task. They have to realign this coaching staff. They have to give themselves insurance in case they get off to a slow start with the manager next year. Okay, they need to have some kind of plan in place in case shit happens. I can't emphasize that enough. Anybody in the Met front office watching these videos, you have to have a plan in place in case Carlos Mendoza and the Mets get off to a slow start. If they get off to a slow start in June, you need something or somebody here that can take over seamlessly. Because if you don't do that, folks, you're going to have, no matter what the Mets do, the media is going to complain. But if you don't have a plan at the back of your mind, who you want to put in case shit happens, the well-laid plans of mice and men, you don't make that decision on what you want to do, what you need to do, you're going to have a major problem on your hands. So it is imperative the Mets do that. That's one of the many things the Mets have to do. They have to find the right pitching coach that's going to get this staff to start throwing fucking strikes. I hate the curse, but that's how frustrating it was watching this team throw ball one, throw ball two, ball three, walk about. Ball one, ball two, walk about. That's the second biggest, the first biggest decision, get the right pitching coach. The second biggest decision is get somebody in here that can take over in case something happens. And then we got to work on the team, okay? Players have to be off this team. Certain people, Mets have to make very hard decisions on Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, possibly Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz. And if they make a big trade for a big pitcher, they're going to have to figure out who they're going to move. There's the guys that are going to hurt them in the long run. Guys like Jet Williams are probably going to be gone. Probably Brandon Sproat, Jonah Tong, Carson Benj. Any number of these players could be gone. So this is a very, very important offseason for the Mets. Last year was an easy offseason. You signed Soto, but there wasn't really any true aces that I felt comfortable giving a big contract to. And also, this will if they sign a big player, a big pitcher, and free agency, David Stearns is going to have to go outside his own box. He doesn't like giving up contracts more than 3 years for a big pitcher, for any pitching. He's going to have to bite his tongue and do it, bite his lip and get it done. He's going to have to do that. If he doesn't do that, we're going to have the same problem next year. Team basically disintegrate in front of our eyes. I can't emphasize this enough. Things have to change or you're going to have the same problems that you've had since 2007 with this team. Hard decisions need to be made about this team, the personality on this team, Leadership has to be brought into this team as well. So it's not just about the talent, it's also about who the players are coming in here. Simple as that. But, Skubal is a great pitcher, and he would certainly help any team if he were to get traded. Mets have to think long and hard on the kind of player they need to bring in here. Not just a guy that's a great player. They need a guy that can really step it up and be a big-time player here. The Mets really have to. Let's have a lot of work on to have a good team next year. I think the Mets are going to have a good team, but they need to sort of think long and hard about the personality of that group. How's the group play together? What's the whole, what's the deal there? Well, let me know what you think about this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.